Hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. It is Sunday, May the 19th, 2019, and we are here for show of the year number 75. Ready to go, Carla?
Yes.
I hope all of you are ready to go. Let's go! All right. Please like and subscribe to our channel. That's a goal that there's a goal that Carla and I always try to tuck in our back pocket. And we're trying to achieve that. So please like and subscribe. And if there is any conductive criticism or constructive criticism, rather, please let us know. And it's our aim to get better. So thanks so much to all of you, by the way, for making our last two shows absolutely incredible and extremely fun, to say the least. The last two shows have been very active and in a very positive way. So thanks to all of you for that. And hopefully we can keep up with the positive energy that we try to relay on every show. So thanks again to all of you. So this has been a really fun tournament, less the multitude of withdrawals or retirements and the Kyrgios drama. But all in all, a really great tournament. There was a couple days where matches were jumbled together because of rain. But all in all, great tournament. A lot of fun. Enjoyed covering this. And we've had a really good time on this channel being involved with you for Rome. So there's a lot to talk about. So let's go. Let's jump right in. You ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, let's do this. So we have just finished with Rome. We had the men's and women's finals today. So now we are going to discuss those finals, and we are going to start looking towards the French Open. As we all know, Roland Garros is a major tournament, and we do prize giveaways for Roland Garros, and we are going to announce those real quickly right now. First of all, we're going to do a fantasy team selection, and I'll explain real quickly how this is going to work. I don't want to spend too much time on this because there's a lot to talk about. So what we're going to do is once draws are released, then we are going to ask whoever is interested to select 8 players on both the men's and women's side that you would select to be on a team to carry with you to go to the French Open to try to accumulate the most points. Wait till the draws come out so you make sure 2 of your selections aren't very close to each other in the draws. You don't want to pick 2 players only to meet in the first round. But what we're going to do is we will give examples of some teams towards the middle segments of the show when we review the Rome results, but select 8 players, and only 5 of those 8 can be ranked within the top 20 in terms of rankings as we start the French Open. Second of all, what we're going to do is a tennis racket giveaway. I showed this racket last show. It's a Wilson Burn 100S. And I will string it with some YTEX strings of your choice at your attention and send it to you. So for the fantasy team selection, we are going to give away to the winner, and each player that you choose will accumulate 1 point per round that they win. Whoever's players has accumulated the most points at the end of the French Open will win 2 sets of YTEX strings, your choice. The tennis racket giveaway will go to anyone that can select, once the draws are out, 3 of the 4 finalists and 1 winner. All right? So we'll clarify this more as the French Open goes on. But fantasy team accumulating each player, only 5 can be in the top 20. Each point, whoever has the most points will win 2 sets of YTEX strings. And then on the tennis racket, 3 of the 4 finalists and 1 winner. If there's a tiebreaker, we'll figure it out. All right? So there you go for the prize giveaways. If I didn't say that clearly, please let me know in comments, and I will restate it on the next show. Let's jump right in, Carla, to Rome, the Italian Open, as it completed today. And let's start with Johanna Konta and the Karolina Pliskova final.
Well, Karolina Pliskova from the Czech Republic defeated Johanna Konta from the United Kingdom 6-3, 6-4. Karolina Pliskova is 27 years old. The first Czech woman to win since 1978, and this is her biggest clay career title. Johanna Konta was actually unseeded in this tournament. She's the first British woman to reach the Italian Open since Virginia Wade in 1971, and she just turned 28 years old. I don't think Justin or I, we didn't guess this. I had Halep winning this tournament. Who did you have winning this tournament?
And I had Osaka going to the final playing Kvitova. Unfortunately, I had neither nor. Karolina Pliskova is one of my favorite women's players. However, I could have not forecasted that at all. Congratulations to her. I'm glad to see her in the winner's circle of this tournament.
Yeah. She's number 2 seed now going into the French Open. The furthest she's gone into the French Open, let's see, Johanna Konta has never passed the first round, and Pliskova made in 2017 the French Open semifinal. So interesting. This is not her best surface, but yet she won this tournament.
Both players, Konta and Pliskova, are relatively hard hitters. I generally, it's that we see them, the two of them, go deeper on other surfaces. Konta has been the recipient of some bad luck, injuries, etc. We've talked about Konta for the past year, and we followed Konta for a lot of years, and it's good to see her back first and foremost. Congratulations to getting some wins under your belt to her. She is a solid player. I hope we see much more from her at Wimbledon. I do not think that this final berth for her in Rome indicates that she will get past the first week of the French Open. Do you agree or disagree?
She has never passed the first round on the French Open. Never.
So great job for her getting here. And maybe this is a good sign of things to come, and we hope so, or at least I hope so. I'm not the hugest fan, but it's always nice to see someone that was once on the list of who was once hot but now is not, now taking herself off the list with a finals berth here on clay.
Well, Johanna Konta has made 2 semifinals, one in the Australian Open 2016 and then Wimbledon 2017. I think she lost to Venus Williams. So good for her, but even though going forward with the French Open, I'm not picking either in my bracket.
I agree with you there. Would any of you select either of these 2 finalists, Karolina Pliskova or Johanna Konta, on your potential fantasy team that we just discussed? Personally, I would not, but I don't want to give away all my thoughts. After all, hey, we're the ones that are trying to beat you. So let's just say I would think hard about not selecting either 2, but we'll see. Pliskova won with relative ease. We watched the match. It really wasn't that contested in a sense, but the better player currently won, and I don't think it was a shock once we saw the final who we expected to win, right?
Definitely. I mean, Konta had a good win against Bertens, and Pliskova beat Sakari before that.
So for me, I'm gonna put out a question, and let's all answer this in comments as quickly as you potentially can. Don't dwell on it, but here's the question: does either player, Pliskova or Konta, go past the first week of the French Open? Yes or no? Now. All right. I say no. What do you think?
Definitely no.
All right. By the way, this is an extremely hard year, if you haven't thought about this already, to predict a women's favorite for the entire tournament. It is very diverse. It's very wide open. I think, did you write, Carla, the names of the women's players that won clay tournaments this year? Did you do that?
Yes, I actually did. Let me give you that list. I have the list of the women who actually won all the clay tournaments. You had your first champion at the Volvo Car Open, Madison Keys. You had Samsung Open, Polan Hercog. Clara Open, Amanda Anisimova. Istanbul Cup, Petra Martic.
Istanbul, yep.
Istanbul. Stuttgart, Petra Kvitova. Rabat, Maria Sakkari. Prague, Jill Teichmann, which I never heard of her. Madrid, Kiki Bertens, and Rome Pliskova.
9 different champions, 9 different tournaments. Am I correct? Did I get that wrong?
And one was on green clay, which was the Volvo Car Open, but it's still clay.
So I would like to say this. Having said so, and I think we did have various different men's champions too. So it's going to be hard to have a men's favorite. But until someone beats Nadal on his own court where he has 11 titles, I don't think you can say Nadal isn't the favorite on the men's side. So I think there's a pretty firm favorite on the men's side, I would think. But on the women's side, it's up in the air. With that said, I would still have to pick Serena Williams. If I had to put my house on it, I would never do so, but if I had to put my house on it and was pushed to shove, I would have to pick Serena simply because she didn't play any of these tournaments, but one withdrew because of what we talked about on a previous show. We won't get into that, but maybe it was more of a PP match in a sense than it was a real withdrawal or a snub, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But with that said, because it's so diverse and you still have heavy-hitting Serena with, I'm sure, a whole lot of emphasis on reaching that 24th major, I think Serena still has to be the favorite. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I completely agree with you. Serena, for me, Serena Williams would be the favorite by far, and I would have a few players in there, Simona Halep, and I can't, and honestly, everything else is pretty much open. Maybe Petra Kvitova, which I didn't think it was her best surface, but she did really good on clay.
So, topic number one that I want to shoot out there is to begin to look at examples of a fantasy team that we will create for this competition, that being the YTEX Strings giveaway. Apparel as well. If you don't play the game, apparel can come into the mix as well if we have your size, shirt, etc. For the women, topic number one, for the women, if you had to pick 8 players or a team of 8 to carry you with you, and you were the coach, to win the most points at the French Open, and only 5 of them could be in the top 20, who would they be? I'm going to give you my 8 with a couple of substitutes. This is just tentative because the draws are not out. I would take Simona Halep, the number 2 in the world currently. I would take Kiki Bertens, the number 4 currently. I would take Karolina Pliskova. I had Sloane Stephens written in. I was writing the show while...
Well, Pliskova is number 2 now.
That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So I had Sloane Stephens written in. But because, as you indicated, which was brilliant, because I wrote this and I didn't see what you wrote, so we had some spontaneous type stuff, but you took the words right out of what I wrote. Before the match completed between Pliskova and Konta, I had Sloane Stephens written in. But because of Pliskova's seeding jump to number 2 at the French, that puts her at the bottom of the draw, and that will help her out considerably for the French Open. So I slashed Sloane Stephens and I wrote in Pliskova. The number 7, but will be the number 2 seed. Serena Williams, the number 11 seed, and Belinda Bencic, the number 15 seed. My 21 and beyond players, the last 3, would be Helena Ostapenko, simply because of the experience of winning them, and I wish the best for her, especially with her being the top of the list of who was once hot and who is now not. So I really am rooting for Ostapenko, so I'm taking her. Victoria Azarenka, the number 51 in the world currently, I'm taking her, squeal and all. So if she has loud squeals... By the way, the Djokovic-Nadal match had a lot of grunting today.
I can tell why their academy teaches grunting. I mean, Nadal was hitting some shots and he was still grunting after the shot was hit.
My last player on the women's side would be Venus Williams, the number 50 in the world currently. You can't ever forget about Venus and Serena when they're in a draw. If you do, then you're out in left field somewhere, because they both can be very dangerous. Will she win a first?
I'm in left field then.
She may not win a first round, but I think she could do damage there. Mm-hmm. A couple of substitutes, depending on draws, would be Garbine Muguruza. She's kind of fallen off. She's on that list of who was once hot, not really.
She's still in the top 20.
But she's still up there. So if I had to sub, like if Pliskova faced off against Venus in round 1, I might sub in Muguruza elsewhere. Is all I'm saying. Right. And that's it. So that would be my women's 8 fantasy team before I even saw the draws. Who are yours, Carlo? What are yours?
I have Serena Williams, Simona Halep, Kiki Bertens, Petra Kvitova, Belinda Bencic, Amanda Anisimova, Petra Martic, and Marketa Vondrousova.
Great picks with Vondrousova. Great picks there. Great picks with Petra Martic. I don't really get the young Anisimova on this surface. Tournament. But here I think it's going to be too much for the young. I think she's 17.
She usually shines at the Grand Slams. She does well in Grand Slams.
I guess I would have to say that Anisimova would be a lesser ideal pick than Venus Williams, though. Venus, in my opinion.
I haven't looked at the draw. I might change mine once I see the draw. But if I had to substitute someone, it would be Azarenka over Venus Williams on clay.
My forecast: Serena wins it, and Venus makes at least the quarterfinals. Unless they square off in the second round like they did in Rome, and one of them had to drop out. Just saying, though. I think if they're separated far enough in the draw, you got one making the quarter.
I think Serena will make the final. I think Venus will lose in the first or second round.
All right, so women's tournament, great Rome. Enjoyed it tremendously. It was a really fun one. Too bad for a lot of the withdrawals. I think if some of the withdrawals would not have occurred, I don't know if we would have had the same final, though.
I think we would have had the same final. Either way, I'm sorry. I think that Novak was a bit too strong.
I'm not talking in the men's. I'm talking in the women's.
Oh.
We only had like...
Well, I mean, no, if you think about it, Kiki Bertens made a semifinal. She won the tournament before that. I think she was probably a bit tired. Yeah. Probably. You're right.
So, what do you think? On the women's side, we haven't got to the men's yet. On the women's side, if there weren't as many withdrawals or retirements as there were, would the final have been a completely different story?
Yes,
all right?
Definitely. Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Neither here nor there. We're human beings, and sometimes we have to pull out, or
Definitely,
sometimes we pull out to rest up for the biggest tournaments of them all. All right, let's jump to the men's final. As we all know, that was Novak Djokovic facing Rafael Nadal, who finally got his first clay court season win tournament, or first clay court tournament win of the season. That was a tongue twister.
Isn't this his first title of the year?
First title of the year, yes. Now, he hasn't played, I think this is the 7th or 8th tournament, whereas in a normal schedule, he would play maybe 12 or 13 at this point. Neither here nor there, though. Yeah, number 2 in the world. I'm glad he got his first win. Not the hugest fan.
He needed this one.
But he needed this one.
Yeah. Well, Rafael Nadal took on Novak Djokovic. 6-0, 4-6, 6-1. First set was kind of all Nadal.
Okay.
All Nadal. Actually, I was a bit shocked from the first game that Novak Djokovic was broken.
Okay, we watched this match from the time the players walked on the court until the time that they walked off the court. I heard an interesting stat today by a commentator on the Tennis Channel that these two players, Nadal and Djokovic, have met more times than there have been American Super Bowls. That's a lot of that's a lot. So I think it's like 28-23 Djokovic, or 25.
It's
22.
actually the head-to-head is actually 26-28. They've played 7 times at the Rome Open, by the way. The last time they played was in 2018, where Nadal won. They played in 2016 the quarters, where Nadal won. Djokovic beat him 2 times, 2011 and 2014. This probably was the worst beating that Nadal gave Djokovic.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the antagonist on this one, and I'm gonna go Team Djokovic on this one.
He was tired.
For a couple of reasons.
Very tired.
For me, this loss for Novak and this final wasn't as brutal as maybe someone on the outside that kind of just follows one player and no one else, or maybe just a big match versus not all the others. Djokovic, noticeably, from the time he was walking out onto the court, looked visibly fatigued and tired.
He did. First thing I noticed, I told Justin, is he's got bags under his eyes. He looks very tired. You can tell that the match that he had in the quarterfinals with,
he had 2 3-setters, right?
Juan Martino Potro, who took him to 3 sets, which is surprising. He should have won that in 2 sets. Juan Martino Potro on clay, 3 sets, and match points, 2 match points. Then Diego Schwartzman, the Argentinian, takes him to 3 sets. That was another shocking match for me.
Now let's couple those 2 3-set matches up, along with the one day they all had to play, or a lot of them
2 days.
had to play 2 matches in one day because of the rain delays. Now, we all have to deal with this type of thing, but generally it doesn't happen at the highest level. It does, and this is why we have roofs installed in places like Flushing Meadows or Queens, New York. At that major, we have roofs and at Wimbledon, and we have roofs at the Australian. So 3 of the 4 majors have roofs, but usually clay's more forgiving, so a lot of the clay tournaments do not. No, I'm not saying we need a roof here in Rome,
no.
But sometimes you can see how rain delays can really negatively affect one's ability to dig deep throughout a tournament with the amount of quality tennis and opponents that are enrolled in that tournament.
Good thing it was only 2 out of 3. 3 out of 5 would have been really brutal for them.
I think in a major, though, 3 out of 5, they wouldn't make them play 2 in one day. I think
so. Yeah, no way.
I think the rules change because there's Wimbledon sometimes that go into Monday because of this, or at least before they had the roof. Some finals would take place on a Monday, and I think that's happened at other majors too over the years before the roofs have been.
But Novak didn't play those 2 tough matches on the same day. I mean, the reality is that a lot of junior tennis is they play 2 to 3 matches a day, and his first 2 matches, when he had to play 2 days, were relatively easy for him. He got through pretty quick, just like Nadal did. Potro was the next day, and I guess he didn't expect to go to 3 sets, and he had to save 2 match points, and then Diego Schwartzman takes him to another 3-setter. So of course he's going to be tired for the French Open for the Rome Open when he faced Nadal, who bageled a lot of people
So
in the process.
So all great points, but let's take a step away from the game on court and let's look at the game off court. 2 matches in one day. Relative ease on both matches. Coming off 2 3-setters, but still 2 matches in one day takes its toll. It's playing 4 sets, no matter how easy they were. Then going to a 3-setter with Schwartzman, 3-setter with Del Potro, and then having to square off against Nadal. With the kicker though being, what is Novak Djokovic still having to do in his off-court time? The president, I guess the Players Association, so surely his phone's ringing in 11 different languages, which, by the way,
well, he
bravo for Novak
excellent.
Djokovic.
I was impressed. He actually speaks
11.
No, not fluently, but he speaks English, Serbian, French, German,
Spanish,
Italian fluently. The
Fluently.
rest he can defend himself, and they both at the end of the ceremony spoke in Italian. That's impressive. Impressive.
Yeah, let's put all the tennis aside for a second. If you can roll off 7 languages fluently, I think Federer does 6. I think Nadal is close to that. It goes to show you the genius of some of the minds that are out here on court. Anyway, but back into the match. The first set, Djokovic came out, I think, and I may be wrong here, I'd have to check the stats, but I think he dropped 3 or 4 lazy drop shots, and that kind of set the tone of the first set. It was a bagel.
And on forced errors. There were quite a few on forced errors in that match in the first set.
Yeah, so the bagel was tough to deal with. But once it was 3-4-0, I'm sure it was more of a mindset to Novak. Let's see what we can do in the second set.
I agree.
And he found his second win. His serving percentage went up. He added pace to it. He was hitting through the ball more. But he still looked fatigued and looked like he was reaching for it. And Nadal, on the other hand, looked a little bit fresher today. So the bagel hurt. But as well, Djokovic found a second win, especially on his offensive patterns, getting his serve into play with more pace and putting more pressure on Nadal. But ultimately in the third set, the fatigue just once again set in, and it was too little, too late to catch a third win.
Agreed. Well, this becomes Rafael Nadal's 9th Italian Open. He becomes the oldest man to win the Italian Open. And he beats Verdasco 6-0 in one set, Bashvili 6-0 in one set, Chardy and Djokovic. All in that same tournament, 6-0.
Yeah, again, this has been a great tournament. This loss in this final for me is no indicator of how well Djokovic will do at the French.
Not for me either. I think both can make it to the finals.
One thing I'm going to throw out there, and I hate to gripe on it, so pardon me, Djokovic fans, I'm one of them, but when I see a racket smash, I'm sorry, I have to speak about it. Djokovic, after he lost the first set, I don't remember, I might have that wrong. Where was that? Maybe
he got broken in the third set.
Okay,
yes.
Broken heading in to the third, or like 1-0 in the third. He got down 2-0 and he smashed his racket. I don't want to harp too much on the racket smash, only because I know he was tired. I know that
he was probably frustrated.
I know that Carla and I, with 5 children and as coaches of others, sometimes we get frustrated, and I know sometimes things occur that we don't necessarily anticipate. We get frustrated, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to harp on the racket smash too much, but I would be a hypocrite if I didn't at least mention it, because I always drill all the players when they smash a racket. Djokovic, the racket smash was unnecessary. It was unneeded. I do understand the tiredness of it, but there's a child somewhere on this earth or some player that doesn't have a racket or no shoes on their feet that can use that racket. We've discussed our idea of creating a bin on the side of tennis courts where a player, if they get the frustrating moment where they're about to smash the racket, they immediately see the bin when they're about to smash it, and they're like, wait a minute, let me go donate it to the bin so we can give this racket to someone that can really use it or sell it for something that they can use to feed their family or whatever it may be. But don't just waste a racket that a lot of people would really give up a whole lot to have. Try to not do that. It's not befitting of the #1 player in the world. I'm sorry. But that's all I'm going to say. It was tough enough to lose, but the racket smash is unacceptable. But nonetheless, I get a little bit of that one.
Yeah, he was tired. He was frustrated. And honestly, the fact that he lost doesn't mean anything. To me, it doesn't. I'm a Nadal fan. But the fact that Djokovic lost in this match does not mean anything. Nadal needed the win. going into the French Open and knowing that he can beat Djokovic, because that's a confidence booster. He just got beat badly by Djokovic at the Australian Open. So good win for Nadal.
So a little grudge match, but I don't think Nadal can say that he got his retribution from the Australian Open.
No, you want to do it at a Grand Slam.
Loss until he gets it back in a major.
Yes, correct. So clay court season winners. You had the 250, Houston, Christian Garin. You had the 250, Marrakesh, Benoit Paire. 1000, Master Monte Carlo, Fabio Fognini. 500, Barcelona, Dominic Thiem. 250, Budapest, Matteo Berrettini. 250, Munich, Christian Garin again, so he won two.
Good for him.
250, Estoril, Tsitsipas, Stefanos Tsitsipas. 1000, Madrid, Novak Djokovic. And 1000, Rome, Rafael Nadal.
2 players on that list that she mentioned that I think I need to take, and anyone that's submitting for the fantasy team points on the channel for the giveaway. That was 2 good names in there. Garin is one of them. I need to relook. I forgot about him. I was shooting from the hip and wrote that, and I didn't think about Garin. That's one to look at when the draws come out. And as well as Jamie Munar, who also trains with Nadal on clay at his camp. So those are 2 I didn't mention, too, that had a pretty good clay season as well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even though Munar has the grunt of a buffalo, kind of like Azarenka, but with a little depth because he's a male, I still think he's quite grunterific for sure. Nadal played good in my opinion, and I repeat, played good, not great. He played a fatigued Djokovic, visibly so. Does Nadal win the French Open? Does he win it? Is he the favorite again now? I mean,
he's still the favorite.
In my opinion, he never lost the favorite.
He's the favorite. I think if the courts are slow like they were here at the Rome Open, he will win the French Open. It will be tough. He was hitting deep shots today. His serve had better pace in it. But I agree with you. He's still not the Nadal that we usually see.
Yeah, I say he will win the French. However, I think he will need to still play better than he did today. Or I think even if Nadal were to face Djokovic at the French in 3 out of 5 sets, and Djokovic is playing much better than he was today, and Nadal's at the same level, I think Djokovic would have to hold the favorite. Nadal played good, but not nearly as great as I've ever seen him play. Right. If the courts are sluggish and slow and wet and damp and dank at the French Open, watch out, because Nadal is going to cruise all the way through. If it's a faster, drier atmosphere, then I think you have to watch out for the Federers and the Djokovic's, maybe the Thiems, but I'm not counting on Dominic Thiem.
I'm not either. What are your top 8 on the men?
All right, so here we go. That's a great question. So the same thing, we're doing 2 fantasy team selections. So we did the women's, or an idea thereof. Again, wait till the draws come out before you select yours. But if you had to select 8 men, 5 of which can, or 5 of the 8 can be in the top 20, but you cannot have all 8 in the top 20. 5 only within the top 20. The other 3 have to be outside the top 20. My top team, or my 8 top players would be, and this is tentative, obviously. Surely, though, I would assume that all of us, the majority of us, would have these 4 players. Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, and Thiem. Am I wrong? Do you have those 4?
I don't have Thiem.
Okay, so that's smart. That's smart. I was thinking that, but I thought if I'm trying to place a fantasy team wager, I don't necessarily want to pull out a player that everyone else is going to have, because that may hurt me if that guy wins the whole thing and I'm the only one that doesn't have it. So it's a little bit of a thought process on that Thiem pick, by the way. Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, Thiem. I have Borna Coric as the 15 seed as my number 5 player, with a potential substitute for Gael Monfils being on his home turf, depending on how the draws come out. Number 6, Laszlo Jiri, the number 32 in the world. At number 7, Jen Leonard Struff, the number 51 in the world. And Stanislav Wawrinka, the number 29 in the world, as my last one.
I have Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, Stefanos Tsitsipas, Fabio Fognini, Stan Wawrinka, Fernando Verdasco, and Laszlo Jiri.
Wouldn't have put Verdasco there.
I am. It's play. He can beat a lot of players.
So that's how it's going to roll. So if you want to be involved in the prize giveaways, don't select now. You can, but if 2 players face off, then it'll be probably pretty easy to beat you if they face off early. And again, for the finalists, wait till the draws come out. Pick all your finalists. Say you think Serena's going to play Halep, and you think Djokovic is going to play Nadal, and you think Serena will win and Nadal will win the other one. As long as you have 3 of those and 1 winner, then you're going to, again, win the tennis racket. And if there are 2 players, we will have some way of making it a complete winner. Maybe we'll look at total games won or something. We'll figure it out. All right, so
Also, we do have the women's doubles champion and the men's. The women's was Ashley Barty and Victoria Azarenka.
Good team.
Ashley Barty from Australia, Victoria Azarenka from Belarus won in 3 sets, beating Anna-Lena Gronfield from Germany and Demi Schuurs from Netherlands. The men were 2 Colombian men, Robert Farah and one Sebastian Cabal, who defeated Michael Venus from New Zealand, and from South Africa, Rabin Hassan.
Incredible tournament.
Klassen.
We had a lot of fun with this one, and more comments and views than ever. So thank you so much, and we cannot wait to get into the French. By the way, Roland Garros starts this week. The qualies are ongoing. So once we get to the majors, if you're new to this channel, we do a show every day. Again, we have 5 children, so sometimes we stay busy till late at night, but we always make it. We always make time to do a daily show during the majors. Again, that's what we live for. So hopefully you'll join us for that. All right, so Rome is over. Had a lot of fun this clay court season, and Wimbledon will come up just after the French Open, and we'll have a very brief grass court season prior to Wimbledon.
And we'll try to wear white and green.
Yeah, so
white and green will be for Wimbledon.
So by the way, Wimbledon is my personal favorite tournament of them all. I was raised watching it, watched finals from the greats before I was even born as a child growing up as a way of learning the game. Grew up with wooden rackets, wearing whites on the court. And that's basically the way I was brought up. Serve and volley, and again, I adjusted later. But Wimbledon is the granddaddy of them all to me. Where I'm going to throw this out there, where Roger Federer wins his 21st major. Let's go, Roger. Come on.
I can't disagree with you on that one.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick segment that I thought of. I don't know if you expected this, but I'm going to roll this out there. And again, let me repeat. Roger Federer will win his 21st major at Wimbledon, and anyone wants to take up a bet with me on that of some sort, not monetarily, but something fun on the show, I will do it. And Anis Zizou out there for the French Open. Yes, you and I have a bet on Roger Federer winning the French.
I do as well, where I said Novak will not win the French.
So we both have bets on going for that one. So if Novak Djokovic does win the French, and if Roger Federer doesn't win the French, then our show following that will be some sort of last time Carla had to paint herself up with Djokovic stuff. So it'll be something like that. But anyway, the fun stuff is on deck for the French Open. All right, here we go. So I'm going to do a rapid fire question segment. I'm going to ask Carla and all of you at the same time 11 questions. You must answer the questions as rapidly as you can. They're not questions where we ask you and then you wait and Google something up. It should be something that yes, no, or maybe a name. So yes, no, John Doe, Mary Jane, yes, no, that type of thing. But they got to be done quick. You ready? All right, so you can't look at my questions beforehand, so you look at them. So I'm going to read the questions. Here we go. Ready? 11 rapid fire questions. Yes, no, or a name. Something like that. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. If Roger Federer wins Wimbledon, does he retire?
Yes.
Will Rafael Nadal win Roland Garros?
No.
Will Novak Djokovic make it into at least the semifinals at the French Open?
Yes.
Who wins Roland Garros for the women?
Serena Williams.
Should Nick Kyrgios be suspended?
Yes.
I say no. Does Roger Federer win Wimbledon?
Yes.
Does Serena Williams win another major?
Yes.
Does Novak Djokovic win another major this year? If so, where?
U.S. Open.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
I say no, no. Does Naomi Osaka have a chance at the French Open?
No.
Is tennis heading in the right direction overall?
No.
The youngest player, men or women, that you think has the most big-time potential?
Tsitsipas. Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Agree. That was my answer. Men or women. Vondrousova, I think, is pretty good, too. Lastly, do you believe that Maria Sharapova benefited from an illegal substance?
No.
Fair enough. All right. Moving forward, so that was kind of a fun deal. I enjoyed that one.
I felt like I was taking a test.
That was a test.
I was like, uh-oh. I
Uh-oh.
answered this right.
All right, so we're going to end this show today, as usual, with a quote of the day, or however you look at it.
And before you get to that, by the way, we have 3 people that are not playing the French Open. John Isner, Kevin Anderson, and Maria Sharapova. And to you guys out there, do you think Maria Sharapova will ever come back, or is this the end of her career?
Hence why I asked the question at the end. Is it that she just can't find her way back, or was it, until she got wrapped up in whatever that could have been, or something? Is that something that helped her throughout her career?
That substance was legal until they
Fair
made
enough.
it legal. So
we hope the best for everyone, and we hope to see all those players at Wimbledon.
yes.
Right? Makes the field better.
They will. Well, I know that John Isner and Anderson do want to play. I mean, they benefit playing Wimbledon. Their game benefits from it.
Big serve. It's really important on grass.
Yes.
All right, so end the show with quote of the day or thought of the day, however you look at it. And the first thought or quote of the day is this, and this comes from a legendary name writer, and that would be Ralph Waldo Emerson, and that is this, quote, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well." I will repeat it. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. I feel this quote a lot, and I'm going to explain for a second. Please interject, or any of you comment below. For example, Carla and I coach, okay? There's some days where we go out on the court for 6-8 hours a day in brutal heat, and we're the happiest thing that you can imagine. Some days we're not as happy as others, right?
Yes.
But we have the common goal and mindset that this game that we play and we all love, or we wouldn't be here in the first place, that's us or you, that we feel like no matter how happy or how maybe not happy we may be, the ability to share it with people, especially youth or anyone that wants to come and learn, or at least try to move around a little bit. My father used to say tennis is the ultimate sport of fun, fitness, and friendships, no matter size, shape, age. He used to tell us, you don't even have to have a tennis court. You can have some type of piece of paper wrapped up in a ball with some tape around it, and you can find some type of paddle or a stick and go out and at least try to move around and hit that ball. You don't have to have a great court. You can do it against the wall in the parking lot. You can do it everywhere as long as you are willing to try, right?
Yeah, and we had a group today, a beginners group. Danette, Barbara Messenger, we had Sarah and Chris, both husband and wife, and they made that lesson really fun. They had fun.
Yeah, so these 4 students, they started like a month and a half ago, and they're carrying on doubles points now. So has every time that we go out on the court, are we super happy? No, but once we, I think, are trying and we realize that we're passionate about it, we go home saying, I made a difference today. I made a difference in these people's day. They probably feel better, at least I hope so. But we're not always happy about doing it. But being compassionate, showing passion, being honorable, being useful, ultimately makes everyone feel a little bit better, right? So when I write this show, or when we write this show, I'm not always, oh, great, I got to sit down and write 25 pages and look up 700 facts. But when I realize that it may make a difference in someone's day, and it may not. It may make someone shoot off on some expletive message in comments. I don't know. I mean, it tends to happen, but the majority of stuff that we get, and I mean 98% of it, is extremely positive. So I feel like somehow, maybe it's 2 people, maybe it's 465 people, I feel like that we share our passion and have compassion with you, and that makes this very doable, right?
Yeah, especially with some of you guys who actually interact with me almost every day.
We always go into everything that we do, coaching, writing shows, whatever it may be, knowing that we're going to do our best. But at the end of the day, it's impossible to please everyone. But the majority of people in this world are good people. And if you share things with them and be honorable, then it will come around back to you in a very positive way. That's a promise. All right, last quote of the day comes from a friend of ours, a really good coach at a high level, from the ATP level, WTA level, travels the world, etc., and that's Michael Figgins, who is a really, really good coach and who writes us quotes often to use or to not use, and he wrote us this one, and I felt almost obligated to reading it, or to reading it on the show when he wrote it. So as always, thank you, Michael Figgins, for your coaching assistance. It's very helpful to us and appreciated. Here is his quote. There are 7.7 billion people on this planet. We have a set of rules and guidelines that we live by. Life gets complicated when we expect others to live by our rules and or guidelines. Let me repeat that. There are 7.7 billion people on this planet. We have a set of rules and guidelines that we live by. Life gets complicated when we expect others to live by our rules and guidelines. It is tough that we have to understand that not everyone lives by a code of conduct or rules or what things that are befitting a young lady or a young man or a tennis player. And I'm not going to make reference to Kyrgios again. I wish the best for him. But what we can't do is expect and get disgruntled about when we come across someone that is not following those rules and guidelines.
True. Yeah.
You can't bat 1,000. It's impossible. So with 7.7 billion people on the planet, I think it's best just to do our best and try to be honorable, charitable, helpful. Even if we're not happy, I think ultimately if we push ourselves to do something instead of nothing, that we can ultimately make a difference. And I think that's what really it's about. We can't expect everyone to make a difference, and we can't expect everyone to give you a thumbs up. But the majority will, as long as you are helpful and respectful. And you may not be happy doing it, but someone will appreciate it. Okay? Very well said. The beauty of this show, by the way, for me, is whether we load up the camera with what may be crap to some of you, right? We know we make a difference to a few. That's my quote. So with the beauty of this show, and that's your show, we started this to talk tennis with you from our living room. The beauty of this show is whether we load up the camera with what may be crap to some, we know that we make a difference to a few. And that, my friends, is enough. It makes my day to do it, and hopefully it helps a few of you out as well. So thank you very much, everyone. That is it. Much love to you all. Thanks so much to all of you. The last two shows have been impressive in terms of comments, interactiveness, the beautiful comments that have been written on different platforms. You can follow Carla. I usually won't see it, but she'll tell me. On Instagram, 5K Tennis, Facebook, Justin space Carla with a C space Davis, Facebook 5K Tennis, Twitter at
5K Tennis #1.
And then email at 5ktennis@mail.com. Much love to all of you. We will see you in 2 days, and we will stay every 2 days until Roland Garros begins.
Well, we'll do a show for the draws.
Draw previews. We'll break down draws. Hopefully that won't get too long.
So more than 2 days.
Yeah, last year when we started doing the show just before Wimbledon, our first trial runs with draw breakdowns took 4 hours on air, and we record all of it. So we're going to try to shorten that up into 45 minutes this time. Yes. So see all of you soon. Please share, like, and subscribe. It means a lot. And as Carla always says,
adios.
Adios.